Hey everybody, and welcome to today's Tip of the Week episode. I'm your host, Lori Palau, and happy that you're here. We are wrapping up our spring cleaning series. And if you haven't already listened, I encourage you to go back, check out some of the past episodes that we've done this month, where we've talked about some of the common areas that kind of either get neglected or that people kind of dread and put off, kind of kick the can down the road, but are really, really can make a big difference if you are kicking off the season like fresh without the clutter. It really does make a big difference. And so, we've talked about things like medicine cabinets and linen closets and the pantry, and then we tackle garages. And today I'm going to be focused in on toys. And I think that's a really important one to do in the spring. I know we do a big emphasis of toy cleanup or toy decluttering usually like right before, at least we did when my kids were small, in like right before like the holidays. So we would do it like around November. We would try beginning of December. We would go in and do that. But I think this is a really good time as we're entering spring to also address toys because at least again, where we live in the Northeast, as you move into the warmer months, you're going to be changing the types of activities that you're going to be doing. And so, anytime that you're in a transition period, it is a good kind of like time to hit like the reset button and it getting the kids in the habit of being in like part of that is a good way for you to teach them that life skill. And so today there are a couple different ways that I can go with this. I thought toys would be a good, appropriate one. Now, obviously, a lot of this is going to vary on the ages of your kids and kind of what the activities that they're getting into. So, we're going to be talking on sort of a generic level. And then you can always, of course, customize it depending on your own particular situation. So, the first thing that I want to say, and this goes whether you're dealing with kids or you're dealing with adults, is you want to declutter in phases, right? You don't want to, especially when it's kids and they have the attention span of a flea. You want to make sure that you're not going to be like, okay, we're going to tackle your entire playroom at once, or we're going to tackle all of your toys at once. That is just a recipe for disaster. There's going to be tears, there's going to be yelling. It may be for you, it may be for them. I don't know. But literally, I think the best thing that you can do is just picking a specific area that you're going to tackle at once. And maybe you set a timer there. You can try to gamify it. We've talked all about in the past about different ways that you can kind of gamify the whole organizing and decluttering process to make it a little bit more fun. Maybe giving, I'm not above bribing your kids, but giving them some specific timeline that we're going to do this for a certain amount of time and then we're going to take a break is totally acceptable in my book. But I do think it is important, just like when we have these conversations around the holidays, where it's like, okay, we're going to be making room, cycling stuff out so that we can make room for new stuff to come in. When you are talking about stuff seasonally, we are going to be making room maybe for more outdoor stuff. And we're going to be putting away some of the more kind of winter type activities, if there is such a thing. So really thinking about what are the things that your kids are into, both in a theme, like they may have outgrown something since in the past few months, they're no longer into something. But then also, is this something that they're going to be playing with? For example, if you want to encourage your kids to be outside, maybe you want to be putting away some of the puzzles or more indoor things. Maybe you want to bring out into rotation some things that are going to be more encouraging for them to want to be outside. Now, again, outdoor toys don't always live in the house, so there's always this gray area. But just thinking about as a parent, how do we want to be setting ourselves up for what we want our kids to be doing? We have very limited control, very limited amount of time that we have a say so over what they play with, who they play with, all those things. And so while we still have that, how can you set your space up with your kids in a way that's going to encourage and foster them to do the activities that you want them to do and play with. Okay. I'm not a big fan of the one in, one out rule, but again, there are times when you have a designated space, whether that's a bin, whether that's a basket, it's a cabinet, a drawer, that it might be bursting out at the seams. And we know that it can only hold so much stuff. And if the winter, and especially if you were in the Northeast, you know that this winter was brutal and we were indoors a lot. And um, oftentimes things just, probably got really cluttered and things got shoved in places that it probably shouldn't have. And there's no shame in that. It is what it is. But now it's time for us to do our ESP, our empty sort purge, and being really intentional about what we're putting back. And if we know that we have a defined space of a bin, a basket, a cabinet, a drawer, what is going to live there? So just be really specific over we have this much space and we have this much stuff. What isn't going to go back in? And that is part of that whole decision making process. And again, age appropriate. If your kids are super small, you're going to be making those decisions. But as they start getting into, kindergarten and up, like they should be able to have a say so over, what they want to play with and what they're going to play with. And then just making sure that your bins or your stuff is labeled or at least categorized. I just helped a friend of mine, redo her playroom for her kids. And, we kept it sort of broad. I didn't label everything to be super micro because when I want the kids to clean up and they're not necessarily even reading yet, but they knew that like all their building blocks go over here and all of the doll stuff goes over here. So you just want to at least categorize it, even if you're not super like over labeling to like the nth degree. You want to give it enough flexibility that stuff can float in and out, but you also want to have enough of a defined space that if kids are going to play with a particular category like Legos, they're going in there and they're not finding like Barbie clothes in the Legos, if that makes sense. And that also comes, I think a lot of that comes with the practice of, again, building in time for the cleanup. Oftentimes, what happens is we don't factor in the cleanup as part of the play date or the play time. And so everything, when we're done, everything just starts getting thrown in. So giving you that time, just like if you're doing a workout and you want to factor in the last 5 minutes for stretch, you need to factor that in. It's the same thing. Otherwise, it's just bound to not happen. And this again leads me to the next point, which is teaching your kids to participate. You want to get them involved. You want to get them involved in the decision making. It might be hard. You don't have to do it for long stretches of time, but you want to allow them to feel like they have some ownership. You don't want to just throw their stuff away in the dark of night. We've all done it. I'm not judging anybody, but the more that you can help them build that muscle of knowing that I'm no longer playing with this and I'm going to pay it forward to somebody else. I'm going to donate it. I'm going to give it away. We're going to put it away until, for a few months so we can play with something else, letting them know that we're just going to put this over here for now. And then we're going to make room to bring this out. Having those conversations with your kids is important and it allows them to understand that there's a methodology between their stuff and their space. And that is really, really important. And that oftentimes gets really lost. And then parents don't understand why their kids get upset and frustrated because they were never taught. And so this is absolutely a teachable moment for you. And again, try to make it fun. We all know that sometimes decluttering and organizing and just household chores in general can be boring, right? They're monotonous, but it doesn't have to be dreaded. It doesn't have to be a punishment. You can gamify it. You can make it fun. You can do some, decluttering races. I used to give each of my kids a bag and I would say, okay, you guys, I want you to go through and fill up, a bag of donation stuff. So go through and pick out the stuff that, you no longer play with. And, whoever brings it back to me the fastest or whatever it is, or whoever fills it up the most, or whatever you want to say, whatever rules you want to set. Um, wins or gets an extra, you know, gets to choose whatever, game we play or, what we have for dinner or whatever prize, air quote, that you want to offer the kids. I mean, there are things that you can do to make it less or more palatable and less of a drag. So, again, getting them involved, doing it. This is a great time to do a reset. There's a few times a year. We've got the, right before, when it comes to toys, right before the holidays, before they go back to school, and spring. Those are three really pivotal times, and this is a great one. So I hope you found this tip helpful. Just a reminder that we are going to be kicking off next week our Clutter Clinic series. We're going to be kicking it off with Clutter Clinic Closets. It's our live speaker workshop. At the time of this recording, I'm not sure how many tickets are still available, but definitely go check out simplybeorganized.com/workshop. There's also a link in the show notes where you can see which of the topics interest you. We've got closets in April, garages in May, kitchens in June, playrooms in August. We're skipping July. And then September is paper and October is digital. So we have you covered in a lot of different areas. And this is a great place for you to get inspired and motivated to tackle these areas that may have been a drag. Ask your questions to me live and in real time. And it's going to be super fun. And I can't wait for you to join me there. So visit again our website, simply the letter B like boy organized.com/workshop to grab your tickets. And until next week, I'm Lori Palau. Peace out.